She said she needed to see her ex one last time for closure. Told me not to worry. She just needed answers before moving forward. I didn't say anything that night. I checked our shared account and I was shocked to see what they were doing. Hey Reddit. So I thought I was 3 weeks away from getting married. Instead, I found myself watching Discord snitch on her at 2 a.m. Buckle up, boys. This one's gonna give you a good laugh. I, 29 male, met my fiance, 26 female, Elena, at a charity 5K run 3 years ago. She tripped. I helped her up. We finished dead last together. Classic meet cute crap. What I didn't mention to friends was how she complained about the event organizers for the next hour and how the free t-shirt was clearly designed by someone colorblind. But hey, she had a nice smile and laughed at my jokes. First date was at this farm-to-table place downtown. Her suggestion. She sent back her cocktail twice before declaring it barely acceptable. When the waiter brought the wrong appetizer, she didn't politely mention the mix-up. Instead, she raised an eyebrow and asked if he was new because competence seems rare these days. I cringed but told myself she just had high standards. Fast forward to 3 months ago, engaged, living together, wedding date set for fall. I'm a software developer, but not the born with a silver MacBook type. Coded my first website at 15 on a refurbished Dell I bought with lawn mowing money. Worked IT help desk all through college while taking 18 credits a semester. Graduated with honors, despite pulling all-nighters debugging other people's projects for extra cash. Got rejected from 16 companies before landing my first junior dev position. 6 years, 3 promotions, and countless late nights later, I have a stable job, decent benefits, regular hours. Nothing fancy, but I built it brick by brick. My apartment wasn't fancy when we met. Mid-range complex with a decent gym and covered parking. Elena moved in 6 months into dating and immediately started measuring for upgrades. New couch, mine was embarrassing. New bed frame, are we in a college dorm? New everything. Somehow my credit card kept getting volunteered. When I brought up splitting costs, she'd list all the emotional labor she was contributing by making these essential improvements. Elena worked in marketing but job hopped constantly. Nothing was ever good enough. The boss was a micromanaging jerk, her coworkers were basic, or the company lacked vision. Meanwhile, she'd been trying to land a job at Nexus Technologies for years. Applied 3 times, never got past the first interview. Every rejection triggered a week-long spiral of how the hiring manager clearly felt threatened by her potential, or how the company probably promotes based on who drinks with the boss. The red flags were subtle at first, like how she'd snap at baristas if her coffee wasn't exactly 140 degrees. Once, at Greenleaf Coffee, she made the barista remake her latte 3 times while tapping her nails on the counter loud enough for everyone to hear. Is it really that difficult to understand what extra hot means? She asked loudly, making eye contact with other customers for support. I pretended to be deeply interested in my phone, silently calculating how big a tip would make up for this behavior. Or how she'd text during dinner with my parents but demand my full attention when her friends were around. Dad would be mid-story about his time in the Navy, and she'd be scrolling Instagram, occasionally looking up to say, "Wow, interesting," at completely wrong moments. But if I glanced at my phone while her friend Amber was detailing her latest juice cleanse, I'd get a sharp elbow to the ribs and a whispered, "Can you be present for once?" Then there was the way she'd mysteriously forget her wallet whenever we went out, despite earning decent money herself. Not just at restaurants, everywhere. Movies? Oh, I switched bags. Shopping malls? My card's in my other jacket. Even the damn ice cream truck that stopped by the park. Somehow her wallet was always elsewhere. But she remembered it just fine when we'd go shopping with her friends, dropping 4 figures at Nordstrom like it was nothing. My sister Kate spotted it immediately. "She's different when you're not looking," she whispered during a family barbecue, right after Elena had spent 20 minutes explaining to my dad why his grilling technique was fundamentally flawed. Kate caught Elena rolling her eyes behind my back whenever I told a story. She noticed how Elena would subtly move my hand off her waist when certain people walked by, particularly guys in expensive clothes. The weekend we painted our apartment, Kate came to help. Elena claimed she had sensitive sinuses and couldn't be around paint fumes, so she went shopping instead. When Kate found designer shopping bags hidden in the trunk of Elena's car 3 days later, she shot me a look that said everything. Mom was more diplomatic. "She's confident," she offered, which in mom speak translates to, "This girl's ego has its own zip code." Mom, the kindergarten teacher who once found something nice to say about the parent who showed up drunk to the Christmas pageant, could barely muster a compliment for Elena. Dad just raised an eyebrow when Elena corrected his pronunciation of charcuterie and said nothing. Classic dad move. Later, helping him grab more drinks from the garage, he simply asked, "You sure about this one, Blade?" 25 years of marriage to Mom had taught him the value of few, well-chosen words. Her parents were a case study in enabling behavior. Her dad, I'll call him Daddy because that's literally what she called him at 26 effing years old, bankrolled most of her life, new car every 2 years, paid off her student loans, covered her credit card emergencies. The dude was loaded from some commercial real estate empire and made sure everyone knew it. The first time I met him, he spent 15 minutes listing the cities where he owned property, pausing only to ask what I did for a living. When I told him software development, he nodded like I'd said I collect aluminum cans and changed the subject back to himself. Her mom was the silent partner in this disaster, always hovering, smiling anxiously, smoothing over Elena's rudeness with practiced phrases like, "She's just passionate," or "She knows what she wants." I once watched her physically insert herself between Elena and a waiter who was getting chewed out for bringing sparkling water instead of flat. "Oh, that's fine, that's perfectly fine," her mom said, smiling frantically while Elena fumed. The look they exchanged told an entire family history. Engagement happened after 2 years of dating, faster than I'd planned. But Elena had started leaving bridal magazines around the apartment with earmarked pages. Subtle. I bought a decent ring, 1 carat, good clarity, classic setting. Not a bank breaker, but definitely not cheap. When I proposed at the restaurant where we had our first date, her first words after yes were, "We can get this reset in a better setting, right?" She took exactly 3 photos for Instagram before spending the rest of dinner researching jewelers who could fix her ring. Moving in together fully after the engagement revealed more interesting habits. She'd use my credit card for Uber Eats, but list it as our dinner. She'd buy department store face creams, but categorize them as household essentials. And she developed this fascinating ability to be exhausted whenever dishes needed washing, but miraculously energized for drinks with her friends. "Daddy's taking care of the wedding venue," she announced one night, not asking if I wanted input. She was scrolling through Pinterest boards titled things like fairy tale weddings and celebrity-inspired receptions, while I paid bills online. "That's generous," I said, wincing at my credit card statement. Somehow we'd spent $700 on home accessories last month. Apparently throw pillows are made of gold thread and unicorn hair. "Well, he wants his princess to have the best," she shrugged. "Oh, and he's getting me a new Range Rover as a wedding gift. He says you should match it with something nice." I nearly choked on my water. "Match a Range Rover? Like what, a yacht?" She didn't laugh. "Well, at least decent jewelry. Something that shows effort." That night, my best friend Dylan came over to game while Elena was at girls' night. She had started calling these hangouts essential self-care, which somehow meant I couldn't question their frequency or the fact that she came home with shopping bags more often than not. Dylan and I go back to 9th grade when he transferred to my high school and immediately got detention for correcting our English teacher's grammar. We bonded over building potato cannons that got confiscated by campus security. In college, we were roommates who once tried to create our own energy drink that turned Dylan's teeth blue for a week. The guy once drove 4 hours at 2 a.m. to help me change a flat tire when I was stranded. In short, he's the brother I never had. "Bro," Dylan said while destroying me in Apex, "you realize your fiance just voluntold you to drop 30 grand on a wedding gift, right? After her dad already dropped 80 on a car?" "It's not that bad," I lied, respawning for the 5th time. My character promptly got sniped again, much like my financial future. "Sure," Dylan snorted, "and I'm not currently teabagging your dead character." When Elena started planning the wedding, I realized I was basically an accessory. My job was to show up, look decent in photos, and write checks. She and her mom had 3-hour calls discussing flower arrangements and debating the merits of various shades of napkins. When I suggested a reasonably priced venue, she acted like I'd proposed getting married in a dumpster behind Wendy's. The guest list was all her college friends, extended family, her dad's business associates, her mom's book club, about 175 people. From my side, she reluctantly agreed to immediate family and maybe 5 or 6 friends if necessary. When I pointed out the imbalance, she said, "Well, my dad's paying, so..." But I let it slide. That's what you do when you're in love, right? 3 weeks before the wedding, Elena hit me with it over dinner. I'd cooked lemon chicken with roasted vegetables. Nothing fancy but decent. She took 2 bites before pushing it around her plate while scrolling through her phone. "I need to get coffee with Finn," she said, not looking up from her phone. Her tone was casual, like she was mentioning a dentist appointment. "Finn, 28 male, was her ex from before we met. They dated for about a year and broke up roughly 4 years ago. According to her, he was emotionally unavailable and married to his job. That job? Account executive at Nexus Technologies, the same company she'd been obsessing over. She brought him up occasionally, usually when describing her dating trauma or when we'd pass certain restaurants they used to frequent. Finn took me there once, she'd say, launching into some story that inevitably painted him as thoughtless or self-absorbed. According to Elena's greatest hits album of ex-boyfriend complaints, Finn worked too much, spent too much time at the gym, and didn't validate her emotions. Finn? Why? I asked, putting down my fork. I just need closure, she sighed dramatically. There were things left unsaid when we broke up. I can't start our marriage with unresolved baggage. You've been broken up for years and engaged to me for 6 months, I pointed out. Why now? He reached out, she said, showing me a LinkedIn message that was suspiciously friendly. For a professional networking site, there were a lot of miss your perspective and always valued our connection comments happening. The message was dated 3 weeks ago. She'd clearly been sitting on this, waiting for the right moment to spring it on me. It's just coffee, don't be insecure. There it was. Her favorite way to shut down any questioning. Call me insecure. Once that accusation hit the air, any objection I raised would just prove her point. Fine, I said. When? Friday night, she replied, already texting someone. Friday? We're supposed to meet with the caterer. Friday. She rolled her eyes. Babe, this is important for my mental health. You can handle the caterer alone, right? It's just picking appetizers. It wasn't just appetizers. It was finalizing the entire menu and bar package worth thousands of dollars. But I nodded because keeping the peace seemed easier. That Friday, she left wearing her tight black dress and heels. Not exactly coffee attire. The dress that required strategic fashion tape to prevent wardrobe malfunctions. Apparently, her mental health required looking like she was headed to a club opening rather than a coffee shop. She spent an hour doing her makeup, full Instagram tutorial treatment, contouring, false lashes, the works, for coffee, with an X, for closure. Don't wait up, she texted at 9 p.m. Lots to process. Emotional closure takes time. No problem, I replied, settling in for a night of gaming with Dylan. She's wearing the black dress for coffee with her ex? Dylan's voice crackled through my headset as we destroyed some 12-year-olds in Call of Duty. The same black dress she wore to that work Christmas party where she got hit on by like 6 dudes? It's just a dress, I said, sniping an opponent from across the map. My in-game aim was significantly better than my real-life judgment. Sure, and I'm just casually going 20-0 right now, Dylan laughed. Oh wait, I am. Unlike your fiancé's story, which is sketchy as all get out. I chuckled but felt that twinge in my gut, the one you're supposed to listen to. There had been more led up to this coffee date than I initially realized. For weeks, Elena had been working late on mysterious projects. Her phone suddenly had a new password. She'd take calls in the bathroom with the shower running. Once, I caught her deleting text messages when I walked into the room. She claimed she was decluttering her phone. Because everyone aggressively clears their chat history at random moments, right? Around 1:45 a.m., I was still gaming with Dylan, both of us hyped on energy drinks and victory. That's when Discord did me a solid, or did me dirty, depending on how you look at it. You know how Discord shows what music your friends are playing? Suddenly, next to Elena's name in my friends list, listening to Spotify, Desire by Meg Myers. Dylan caught it too. Bro? Isn't that the song that's literally about, intense adult activities? I quickly checked our location sharing app. Her location was paused. Not turned off, paused. There's a difference. Turned off means you forgot. Paused means you remembered, then deliberately stopped sharing. Approximately 5 seconds of intense focus on the difference between these two statuses followed. Could be a mistake, I said, even as I took a screenshot. Digital evidence collection. The modern relationship pastime. Yeah, and I could be a Chinese jet pilot, Dylan snorted. Who listens to Desire at 2 a.m. during closure talks? That's like watching adult videos for the plot lines. I muted my mic, took a deep breath, then unmuted. Let's finish this match. That's it? Let's finish this match? Your fiancé is out there listening to sex music with her ex at 2 a.m. and you want to keep playing? Bro, she ain't closing chapters. She's opening legs. What would you have me do, Dylan? Drive around town looking for her car? Storm into Finn's apartment like a psycho? I'll deal with this. Dylan was quiet for a moment. Geez, man. That's actually mature. Fine. Let's clap these noobs and then make a plan. At 4:20 a.m., yes, exactly that time, I heard the front door. I was in bed pretending to be asleep. She crawled in beside me, smelling like cologne that definitely wasn't mine. Her makeup was mostly gone, hair slightly messed up. The next morning, she acted perfectly normal. Made coffee, scrolled Instagram, complained about her headache. How was your closure? I asked casually, pouring cereal like my entire world wasn't imploding. Good, she yawned. Really healing, actually. We talked through everything. I feel so much lighter now. She kissed my cheek. Thanks for understanding. You're the best. I nodded, smiling. Anything for your mental health? Over breakfast, she launched into elaborate details about the coffee shop they went to, except her description suspiciously matched no coffee shop I'd ever heard of in our city. When I subtly asked for the name of this magical cafe, she mumbled something about it being new and underground and quickly changed the subject. What she didn't know, I'd already started planning. Here's what Elena didn't know about me. My uncle Martin was the CTO at Nexus Technologies, the same company she'd been drooling over for years. The same company where Finn worked. I'd never mentioned this connection because 1, I don't like using family connections professionally, and 2, Uncle Martin and I weren't super close until recently. Our relationship thawed after I helped modernize the database system for his personal side business last Christmas. That project turned into regular calls, which turned into occasional dinners, a slow rebuild of a relationship that had faded when I went to college. 4 months earlier, when a marketing director position opened at Nexus, I'd reached out to Uncle Martin, sent him Elena's resume, talked her up. He was impressed with her credentials and started the wheels turning. The plan was to surprise her with an interview opportunity after the wedding. A nice gesture from her new husband. The week after her closure night, Elena was constantly on her phone, smiling at texts. Her little cult, Jess, Amber, and Tori, suddenly became her alibis for everything. These 3 were a piece of work. Jess, the ringleader, always dressed like she was auditioning for Real Housewives. She once told me at a party that she couldn't imagine being satisfied with just one man, said it while touching my arm and making direct eye contact. Classy. Amber, the follower, who laughed at everything Elena said like it was comedic genius. She once arrived at our apartment in the same exact outfit as Elena and acted like it was a cosmic coincidence rather than obsessive pre-planning. And Tori, the sweet one, who'd stab you with a smile. She had this practiced head tilt and wide-eyed thing she did when asking invasive questions like, do you ever worry you're not successful enough for someone like Elena? Or, have you thought about getting Botox for those forehead lines? Going shopping with the girls, she'd say, coming home 6 hours later with one small bag. Once, she claimed they spent the afternoon at an art gallery opening. When I mentioned it to Amber, who had the self-awareness of a potato, she looked confused and said, "What art gallery?" before Jess stepped in with a sharp elbow to her ribs. Meanwhile, Uncle Martin called to tell me the interview was set for the following Friday. Asked if I wanted to come along, make a day of it. Elena's been asking to meet you anyway, I lied. In reality, she'd rolled her eyes when I mentioned dinner with my uncle months ago, saying she'd rather watch paint dry. That's when Dylan suggested something truly beautiful. Dude, you need to be in that interview, he said during our gaming session. And you need to absolutely wreck house. What do you mean? I mean, Dylan said slowly, like explaining to a child, you show up looking professional as heck, reveal you're the CTO's nephew, and watch her melt down in real time. Dramatic, I said, but not enough. Why not ask your uncle if there's any dirt on Finn? Every company has that one guy who's doing something shady. I won't lie, I like the idea. A lot. The next few weeks were busy. Uncle Martin did some digging into Finn's accounts and found some irregularities. Apparently, our boy Finn had been skimming from client accounts. Small amounts, but consistent. Not enough to trigger automatic alerts, but enough to fund a lifestyle slightly above his pay grade. Elena's behavior grew more suspicious. She started doing laundry, something she'd previously declared beneath her skill set, except she only washed certain items immediately after returning home late. She'd take shower then showers, where she'd come home, shower, leave to meet the girls, then shower again upon return. Her friend group became increasingly hostile toward me. Jess would accidentally exclude me from group dinner invitations. Amber would ask leading questions like, don't you think Elena deserves someone more ambitious? Tori would pointedly talk about missed opportunities whenever Elena mentioned Nexus Technologies. 2 days before Elena's interview, she told me she had a big presentation at work on Friday. Can we celebrate after? She asked. I think this could lead to a promotion. Her current job was at a small marketing agency, where she'd been complaining about the toxic leadership since her second week. This sudden enthusiasm about a potential promotion seemed suspiciously timed. Absolutely, I said. I'll make reservations somewhere nice. Friday morning, she left early, dressed in her power suit, kissed me goodbye. Her makeup was perfect, hair styled precisely, briefcase packed with presentation materials I'd never seen her work on. I waited exactly 30 minutes, then put on my best suit and drove to Nexus Technologies. Dylan came along for moral support, but really because he wanted to see the show. This is better than Netflix, he whispered as we walked into the lobby. The same lobby where Elena had interviewed 3 times before and failed. The same lobby she'd described as pretentious when they rejected her. Uncle Martin was waiting. Conference room B is ready. They're halfway through the interview. The receptionist gave me a visitor badge without question. Dylan got one too, introduced as my legal consultant. Uncle Martin raised an eyebrow but didn't comment. We took the elevator to the 3rd floor and walked down a hallway lined with glass-walled conference rooms. And there they were in room B, Elena, Finn, and 2 other executives. Elena was animated, confident, showing them something on her tablet. The presentation appeared polished, professional, the product of significant effort and time she hadn't spent at home. Finn sat close to her, occasionally touching her arm as she spoke. Bro, his hand is literally on her leg under the table, Dylan whispered. I knocked on the glass door. 4 heads turned. The look on Elena's face, pure shock, melting into confusion, melting into dread, was priceless. Like watching someone's entire life flash before their eyes in high definition. What are you doing here? Her voice was high, tight. Before I could answer, Uncle Martin appeared behind me. Blade, glad you could make it. He clapped me on the shoulder, then addressed the room. Everyone, this is my nephew, Blade. Finn went pale. The hand that had been on Elena's thigh retreated so fast it practically broke the sound barrier. And this is Dylan Davis, Blade's legal consultant, Martin added. Dylan gave a solemn nod while discreetly filming on his phone. For legal documentation, he whispered to me. Sorry I'm late, I said, sitting down directly across from Elena. Traffic was terrible. Please continue. Elena's presentation faltered. Her hands shook slightly as she tried to return to her PowerPoint. Finn was staring intently at his shoes, probably praying to become invisible. One of the executives, Jennifer, head of marketing, smiled at me. Your uncle speaks very highly of you, Blade. That's very kind of him, I replied. Though today I'm actually here about the last account. Finn's head snapped up. The last account was his biggest client. Martin nodded. Yes, there seemed to be some irregularities we wanted to discuss. Jennifer looked confused. Irregularities? Perhaps we should finish Ms. Bennett's interview first. Of course, Martin said smoothly. Please continue, Ms. Bennett. Elena couldn't. She stumbled through 2 more slides before giving up. I don't understand, she finally said. Blade, how do you know Martin? Martin is my uncle, I said calmly. Has been my whole life. The look on her face was priceless. Now, about those irregularities, Uncle Martin turned to Finn. We've noticed some concerning patterns in your client billing over the past 6 months. Finn started sweating visibly. I can explain. I'm sure you can, Martin cut him off. We'll discuss it in detail with legal. For now, I'd like you to head to HR. Jennifer, would you mind escorting Ms. Bennett out? I believe her interview is concluded. As Elena gathered her things, I stood up. Actually, I'll walk her out. We have some things to discuss. In the elevator, Elena lost it. What the heck, Blade? What the actual F? Interesting choice of words, I said coolly. Very similar to the lyrics of Desire. Great song, by the way. Especially at 2 a.m. during closure talks. Her face drained of color. You checked my Spotify? Didn't have to. Discord showed what you were listening to while I was gaming with Dylan. Location sharing conveniently paused too. Not suspicious at all. The elevator doors opened. Dylan hung back, still filming discreetly. Blade, please, she whispered. It was a mistake. Finn said he could help me get this job. It just went too far. So you slept with him for a job interview? I clarified. After I spent months helping you get that same interview legitimately? She looked confused. What do you mean? I sent your resume to my uncle 4 months ago. The interview was already lined up. All above board. All based on your qualifications. No relations with exes required. Her face crumpled. I didn't know. Obviously. What happens now? She whispered. Well, Finn's probably getting fired. Maybe worse. And the wedding is off. The wedding? Blade, you can't. We can work through this. I laughed. There's 3 weeks of deposit money I'll never see again. Consider it the jerk tax. What about Daddy? He's going to... Oh, I already called him, I said cheerfully. He's on his way. Wanted to discuss this man to man. 10 minutes before Elena's meltdown in the elevator, while she was still in the interview room looking shell-shocked, I had stepped out to call her father. Told him his daughter needed him at Nexus Technologies immediately. Something about her wedding being in jeopardy. Hung up before he could ask questions. The nuclear option, yes, but somehow appropriate. As if on cue, the elevator doors opened again, and out stormed a red-faced man in an expensive suit. Her mother trailed behind, looking anxious. "What the hell is going on?" he bellowed, drawing stares from everyone in the lobby. "Elena says you're calling off the wedding? 3 weeks before the date? Do you have any idea how much money I've spent?" "Sir," I began calmly. "Don't sir me. I just put down a non-refundable deposit on a Range Rover. Do you know what that costs? And the venue, the catering, my daughter's dress." Dylan stepped forward, phone still recording. "Excuse me, sir. I'm documenting this conversation for legal purposes." Daddy turned an even deeper shade of red. "Who the heck are you?" "Legal consultant," Dylan said solemnly, showing the visitor badge like it was an FBI credential. "Honey, please." Elena's mom tugged at his sleeve while simultaneously patting Elena's arm. "Let's discuss this somewhere private." "Discuss what?" Daddy was on a roll. "This punk thinks he can humiliate my daughter and walk away? After I put down 80 grand on a car for you two? Was I supposed to match that gift too? You ungrateful little—" He stepped toward me, finger pointing. "Sir," Dylan interrupted, "I'd advise against any threatening gestures while being recorded." That stopped him. He looked at the phone, then at me, then at Elena. "Get in the car," he snapped at her. "We're going home." As they walked away, he turned back. "This isn't over." "Actually," I called after him, "it very much is." The aftermath was exactly the circus you'd expect. Finn was fired the same day. Nexus's legal team found enough evidence of fraud to build a solid case. Turns out he'd been skimming from client accounts for over a year. Small amounts at first, then growing bolder. By the time Uncle Martin's team finished their audit, the total was approaching 6 figures. Finn's LinkedIn profile quickly changed to seeking new opportunities. Corporate speak for "fired so hard my ancestors felt it." I heard through Uncle Martin that Finn struck a deal. Pay back the money to avoid criminal charges. Last I checked his profile, he'd relocated to Arizona. Different state, probably same character. Elena moved back in with Daddy. According to mutual friends, she tried to spin the story as me being controlling and jealous. But the truth came out when Jess, drunk at a party, admitted to covering for her hookups with Finn multiple times. Everyone knew except Blade. She'd apparently slurred before Tori hustled her into an Uber. Social media became a battleground, with carefully crafted posts designed to shape the narrative. Elena's first Instagram after D-Day was a black and white selfie with the caption, "Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away from toxicity." Like she was the victim of something other than her own choices. The day after D-Day, while Elena was collecting her things from our apartment, supervised by Dylan, who took a sick day to play security guard, I found her wedding planning notebook. In the back, a budget tracked in her handwriting showed her dad had already dropped nearly $100,000 on non-refundable deposits. I might have felt bad if I hadn't also found a pros and cons list about me that included not ambitious enough and could try harder with appearance in the cons column. The friend circle split like the Red Sea. Elena's cult went on the offensive, posting vague social media updates about toxic men and dodging bullets. I just let them yap. When you're actually innocent, you don't need to explain yourself. Some friendships surprised me. Amber, of all people, actually reached out to apologize. Turned out she wasn't as clueless as she seemed, just easily influenced. She admitted that Elena and Jess had orchestrated multiple accidental run-ins with Finn over the past few months. Happy hours at bars he frequented, gym sessions during his usual workout time, even a fake networking event that was really just an excuse for Elena to see him. They had a whole system, Amber explained during an awkward coffee meetup. Jess would coordinate the alibis, Tori would run interference with you, and I was supposed to, I don't know, just agree with everything. She looked genuinely ashamed. "I'm really sorry, Blade. I should have said something." Other friends took longer to pick sides. My buddy Marcus, who I've known since high school, initially tried to stay neutral, until Elena showed up at his birthday party with a new guy 2 weeks after D-Day and spent the night loudly explaining how liberating her breakup had been. Marcus texted me the next day. "You were right. She's the worst." Daddy made good on his threat. Sort of. Sent me an actual bill for his wedding expenses through his lawyer. A 14-page document itemizing everything from the venue deposit to the custom-engraved cocktail stirrers. The grand total came to $127,843.26, including a $15,000 line item for emotional distress. Dylan, who's in law school and lives for this kind of drama, Drafted a response that basically said pound sand in legal terms. Included screenshots of Elena's Spotify activity, location sharing pauses, and text messages from Jess about Operation Finn. We never heard back. A month after everything went down, Elena's mom reached out, asked to meet for coffee, said she wanted to apologize. I politely declined. Some bridges should stay burned. I sold the engagement ring and used the money for a down payment on a project car, a 1989 Toyota Supra that needs work but has potential. Dylan helps on weekends, and we've turned it into our hangout spot. The car was rough when I got it. Faded paint, interior that smelled like 3 decades of fast food, and an engine that made concerning noises on startup. But the bones were good. Every Saturday, Dylan brings coffee and donuts to my garage, and we tackle another part of the restoration. Started with the basics. New fluids, filters, belts. Worked our way up to rebuilding the brake system. There's something deeply satisfying about taking something broken and making it work again. Something Elena would never understand, with her throwaway mentality toward everything from phones to relationships. Uncle Martin offered me a job at Nexus. I turned it down, needed a clean break, but we have dinner monthly now. Family's funny that way. Sometimes it takes a crisis to bring you closer. He's become something of a mentor, offering career advice that's actually useful instead of Elena's constant pushing toward jobs with status, regardless of whether they were a good fit. 6 weeks after D-Day, I ran into Elena at the grocery store. She looked rough, wearing sweatpants instead of her usual designer outfits. The same woman who once refused to check the mail without full makeup was now standing in the cereal aisle, looking like she'd given up completely. "Blade," she said, voice cracking. "Can we talk, please?" I nodded, stepped to the side of the aisle. "I miss you," she whispered. "Every day. I made the biggest mistake of my life. You're my soulmate. I've changed, I swear. Please give me another chance." "I wish you the best, Elena," I said quietly. "But we're done. Take care of yourself." I walked away, left her standing next to the cereal display. Clean break, no drama. Later, Dylan told me she'd been fired from her job. Apparently, showing up late and hungover for 3 weeks straight was frowned upon even at her mediocre marketing agency. She'd also been posting increasingly erratic things on social media, veiled references to her heartbreak, interspersed with photos at clubs, looking progressively more disheveled. Her Instagram stories became a timeline of someone spiraling, all while trying to maintain the appearance of living her best life. Her friend group started to fracture too. Jess got engaged to some finance bro and suddenly had no time for supporting Elena's drama. Tori moved to Chicago for a job. Without her enablers, Elena had to face reality. And reality wasn't being kind. I focused on rebuilding my life, changed apartments, needed a fresh start without memories of Elena in every room, found a place with a 2-car garage for the Super project, started hitting the gym regularly, something I'd always wanted to do but Elena had subtly discouraged. "Why waste time there when you could be advancing your career?" she'd say. Reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with during the Elena years. Like Mike, my college roommate, who Elena thought was too basic because he enjoyed football and worked a regular 9 to 5. Turns out Mike is still exactly as he was. Reliable, straightforward, and now happily married with a kid on the way. We started a monthly poker night with some other guys from college. Low stakes, high trash talk. My sister Kate invited me to her kickball league, which turned out to be full of normal, drama-free people who just wanted to kick a ball around and have drinks after. Made some new friends there. It's been 2 months since D-Day. Last week, I adopted a German Shepherd mix from the shelter. Named him Discord in honor of the app that saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. He's 3 years old, already trained, and somehow housebroken despite his shelter background. The kind of dog that follows you around the house just to be near you. No demands, no expectations. Discord and I have our morning routine now. We run 4 miles through the park, stop for coffee, black for me, water for him, then head back to start the day. He sleeps under my desk while I work, occasionally nudging my hand for a quick pet before settling back down. Life's peaceful now. No drama, no checking location apps, no wondering why someone needs closure with an ex at 2 a.m. while listening to Desire. Work's going well too. Got promoted last month, the result of focused effort rather than Elena's suggested strategy of networking with the right people, which mostly meant sucking up to executives at parties. My team celebrated with happy hour at a local brewery. No fancy cocktails, no pretentious atmosphere, just good drink and better company. Sometimes I think about how close I came to marrying into that mess. Would have been the most expensive mistake of my life. Instead, I've got a half-built Supra, a loyal dog, a good job, supportive family, and friends who have your back when things go sideways. Not a bad trade, if you ask me. Sometimes your guardian angel isn't a person. Sometimes it's a Discord status update at 2 a.m. Edit 1. A few people asked if Elena ever tried to reach out again after the grocery store. She did. Through a heartfelt email titled, "Still Your Soulmate?" I didn't open it. Just forwarded it to Dylan with the subject line, "New spam detected." Edit 2. For everyone asking about the Supra, it's alive. Rebuilt the engine last month. Dylan insists on calling it Blade Mobile, which makes me sound like a rejected Marvel character, but I'm letting it slide. Edit 3. Thanks for all the awards and hilarious comments. Discord, the dog, says thanks too. He's currently chewing on my shoelaces in celebration.